Hey guys, it's Jackson Foster here with Plantriotic.com. I am here with the creator and director of Speciesism, the movie, Mark Devries. Thank you so much.
Good to be here.
Yeah, we're at the Seed in New York City, this awesome vegan convention where the community is getting together and there's vendors, speakers. It's a really nice vibe.
It is a really cool event. It's my first time here, actually.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about what is Speciesism, the movie? Just a quick explanation if someone doesn't know.
Well, the movie itself follows my investigation finding out about the issues. So I started off with things like traveling in airplanes over the giant pig farms in North Carolina and investigating the environmental devastation and persuading factory farmers to actually let us into their property and show us around, which took a lot of persuasion but worked. And then it moves into the intellectual underpinnings behind changing our attitudes and our practices with regard to non-human animals. So I speak with Peter Singer, Richard Dawkins, and other people who are really on the cutting edge of arguing that, or sort of unthinking assumption against taking the suffering of animals seriously is a form of prejudice, similar to prejudices against groups of humans like racism and sexism.
Right. So what initially inspired you to even investigate this topic?
I came across some demonstrations and protests from organizations like PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and so forth. And I became interested in what was going on behind it all. And so that's when I started investigating factory farming. But I really had no idea how much further it goes in terms of this being a much deeper issue than just factory farming, because it may in fact be the case that our attitude of not taking animals seriously may well be a form of prejudice no more justifiable than prejudices against groups of humans like racism, which of course would make factory farming possibly one of the most serious ethical issues in history.
Just due to the scale and the sort of normality of it in our modern culture.
Right, and we don't really think twice about what goes on behind the scenes in the food industry, even though it's an industry that is widely supported when people every day buy products from factory farms. But for the most part, until relatively recently, no one really asked what was going on nowadays behind the scenes. And so people didn't know that farms have basically transformed over the years into literally factories where animals are kept inside under these bizarre, super controlled conditions like a factory.
And something I really liked in the movie is that you actually went beyond factory farming and you went to some of the more free-range, quote-unquote, smaller projects. And can you talk a little bit about sort of some of the marketing tools that have been used so that we can feel better about this ethical issue, but what you found really?
Right. Yeah, a lot of the factory farm industry has moved into, or not a lot of it, but at least some has started moving into using marketing to persuade people that they're different from standard factory farms. So we see a lot of things called free range or natural or other vague general terms like that when you actually go onto these premises and look around, it turns out it's marginally different often from standard factory farms. So we visited some of these properties that advertise themselves as free range, and in fact, for example, on a turkey farm that we went to, the birds only had 3 square feet of space per bird. Really something that's only marginally better than a standard factory farm, which makes sense because they have to be economically feasible in order to compete with other farms and so forth, which is why you always see these things that attempt or claim to be higher welfare actually being only marginally different because there's an economic pressure.
Right. Now, this is something that is maybe a hard topic to discuss, but do you believe that veganism is a more moral lifestyle than someone who is living a non-vegan diet? Similar to how if we found out someone was racist, in our modern society, we would say you are maybe an evil, immoral person because that's something so accepted right now as something that is not a positive way to live. Is veganism, should we start to think of people's diets in that vein?
I think it's important to remember that we're all products of our habits. So everyday people who are good people are just so used to and so ingrained in the habit of buying animal products that they don't really think about it, and even sometimes when they're initially coming across it, they don't realize it's a serious issue because it's so normal all around us to support, say, factory farming. I do think that as more and more people are taking non-human animals seriously and more people are becoming vegetarian and more people are becoming vegan, that our attitude about the use of animals in these industries is changing, and I think it'll continue to change. The trend appears to be of us taking animals more and more seriously as a society, and that is certainly something we've seen in terms of society having in the past moved away from prejudices against groups of humans and so forth.
That sort of segues into my next question of why are we in a speciesist society right now when we've had so much progress in other social justice issues? What has made us lag in this one, or is it simply a progression that is bound to happen?
I think in terms of taking animals more seriously, it may well be a progression. I think that's the most likely description of it, because we have, in a sense, expanded our circle of ethical concern. Tribes of people expanded it beyond their tribe, and then beyond, of course, nationality, race, and so forth. So that now, in our society at least, the perception that we should include all humans in our ethical consideration is now widespread, and non-human animals are genetically farther from us than, of course, other humans, and are more different from us in noticeable ways, of course. So it would make sense that this would be a next step in our moral evolution to take non-human animals more seriously.
A really compelling part of the movie is when you talk with people that have not considered speciesism at all. What have you found is the most effective and efficient way to communicate with someone who hasn't thought about looking into their habits of speciesism?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember, of course, that people are used to thinking of animals as property and used to not taking animals seriously. So it is a new concept to a lot of people that we may have this prejudice against taking animals seriously that we can't really justify. So it's very useful, as I do in the film Speciesism, speak with people in a way that lets them into my thought process. And this is what I recommend that people who are animal advocates and so forth do when you're speaking with others. Instead of being, in a sense, confrontational and telling them the facts or the arguments, it's helpful to say, for example, when someone asks, why are you vegan, or why are you in favor of animal rights, or something like that, talking about it in terms of, well, I came across this stuff about factory farming, I found out X, Y, and Z, and the more I learned about it, the more it seemed like I couldn't support it. What do you think, for example? And letting them into your thinking about it so that you and they are both looking at the issue outside of each other rather than, in a sense, arguing with each other. And I think that makes a very significant difference in terms of helping get people thinking rather than sort of putting up a wall and not wanting to hear about it.
Do you believe the animal liberation movement deserves a revolution similar to the civil rights movement?
I think that in the case of animals, we will see changes happening more in a slow and steady sort of way, in terms of as more people are taking non-human animals seriously, more people become vegetarian, more people become vegan, and there are, of course, changes in our treatment of animals in various industries, factory farming industry and other industries. And I think as people's views change about attitudes, we'll see our consumer choices reflecting that, and that will, of course, change the industries. I think it is different from other movements in the sense that because animals can't speak up for themselves, they certainly are not going to all at once demand a major change. It'll happen as people's attitudes and consumer choices change, which is happening.
Right, of course. I mean, if you look at the animal liberation and even vegan diet movement from 10 years ago to now, the amount of progress that has happened is immense. It's dramatic.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just in the past few years. So many more people have become vegan, so many more vegan and vegetarian options are available all over the place now, and there's so much more public discussion about taking animals seriously.
Right. So you've taken this movie all over the country. What is the average or typical reaction from an audience when they see this?
The reaction has really been extraordinary. It has exceeded my most optimistic expectations.
Wow, congratulations.
Oh yeah, thank you. I hear all the time from people who say that the film dramatically affected them. I hear people say the film changed their lives and so forth. And I hear from people who are already vegan and already animal advocates who say that they gave or showed the film to friends, family members, and colleagues and so forth, and that it persuaded those people to become vegan when nothing else had done so for a very long time. So it's really been tremendous to see.
I mean, I can attest to that. I've been investigating the issue for many years, and you watch videos and YouTube videos, but this was the first full put together personal documentary that really, it's extremely compelling when you see it in a digestible documentary format, and it's easy to understand, and it's not confusing, and it's for everybody, and it really does have that effect.
Yeah.
So what are some of the next projects that you are working on?
I'm working on a couple of new projects, that some of which will touch upon a lot of similar ground, but will be designed to reach an even broader audience than this one. Yeah, but documentary-related things.
Awesome. And so if someone wants to see Speciesism the movie, what are some of the avenues that they can do so?
You can go to the film's website, speciesismthemovie.com, and that's where you can watch the trailer, see our Facebook page and so forth, and you can both buy the DVD and you can rent a streaming online version, both through our website, speciesismthemovie.com.
Awesome. So everyone has access if they have a computer to see this movie.
Right, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Mark, thank you so much
thank you very
for
much.
sitting down with me and talking. Check out speciesismthemovie.com and plantriotic.com. Go vegan. Thanks for watching.